Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back on a video from Clyde. This is an interesting one. Is Sukuna going to win the end of Jujutsu Kaisen? I don't know. This scenario is reminding me of Madara at the end of Naruto, where he just kept having other things happening that kept making him stronger. Things keep happening. The other characters, and then out of nowhere, the whole Kaguya thing happened. And I feel like, for some reason, the author is doing the same thing to Sukuna, but then keeps coming up with other ways that could potentially beat him and then just not going along with it because it's not primarily based around the main character. It's a confusing one. I'm finding it dead confusing. As soon as I'm terrible with names. Yuta, main character, start doing all those black flashes. It's like, oh, okay, here we go. But then it's like, never mind. We're gonna have spoilers, 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 spoilers. You've been told that bloody so Gojo technically comes back, but it's no, is Yuta. I'm terrible with names. But Thingy has put his thingy head brain inside of Gojo's body, and then he's able to use Gojo's abilities and stuff. But then that's still not. It's like, what's going on? So Itadori, Yuji, and Itadori is the main character with the black flash, is what I'm saying. And then Yuta is the. Anyway, yeah, Yuta's the guy that is in Gojo's body now. Kind of glad that they didn't bring Gojo back properly. But yeah, anyway, let's get into this. Let's see what Clyde says.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like the main cast of Jujutsu Kaisen are low-key
Yeah. Well, they're all pretty much dead. Like, the girl with the hammer and nails. I'm terrible with names! Gone. Megumi's pretty much gone, possessed by Sukuna. Gojo's gone.
2 weeks ago, I prepared a video which was going to discuss the quote-unquote return of Gojo.
Oh.
I had a few issues with this return, some of which revolved mostly around how it felt like no matter what, the series was doing absolutely anything it could to hold on to Gojo, be it references, flashbacks, comparisons to him in power, scaling to other characters, absolutely anything that could involve Gojo, he would be talked about. In said video, I felt that by bringing him back, it would take away from the development of his students.
Yes. Because his whole thing was like, look, I'm going to bring in the next generation, and they will carry on. So, and the scene where he's like seeing everyone in his like little airport scene when he's passed away, it's like, oh, don't take that away from him. Do not take that away.
As an ongoing narrative since the very start was how Gojo would foster a new generation, hopefully stronger than himself. By Gojo returning, instead of his students taking care of things, it would essentially undo this narrative and all of their progress.
Yeah.
I understood the idea that by having Gojo normally return, it would be pretty optimal for the overall success of Jujutsu Kaisen as a series. To add to that, it would probably more so be the editorial staff demanding this financially beneficial return, as even the author of Bleach recommended many years ago to new mangaka that ignoring fans' requests and demands is a good idea, because if you listen to every critique, compliment, and complaint, you'll unknowingly mold the series into something that's not your own.
Yeah, like with Toe Name's the guy that does the Senpo Sakura thingy Bankai.
Let's face the facts. Normie readers and watchers of Jujutsu Kaisen love this guy. He's one of the most talked about characters in the past 2 decades of anime. Not even Dragon Ball was immune to this too. They actually went and brought Broly back, a fan-favorite character from some of the very old Dragon Ball Z movies.
What made it make sense?
And they placed him into the mainline story, and basically showcased a reimagined version of Broly in a movie.
I liked
Beast
it.
Gohan is also essentially kind of in that same category, a nostalgia trip of reinvigorating the character with the same aura and outfit that he had
for
before
2
Perfect
versus
Cell.
Cell, yeah.
Probably one of the most iconic fights in all of anime. Shonen Jump knows what they're doing. Not in every single situation, but most of the time. Though they want money, the invention of characters like these are usually lightning in a bottle, so they want to savor that lightning. Gojo always gave me a vibe of Saitama mixed with Kakashi as a character, where if there was ever a threat too big or scary for the younger main cast, the unstoppable Gojo could pull up and take care of things. Well, he could do that until Sukuna killed him, which in turn solidified himself as a legitimate threat, and a villain to be feared far beyond how he already was.
Yeah.
Now, Gojo did return, but it's in a way that I think most expected someone like Kenjaku to do. Resorting to tactics that the villains would normally only ever employ was quite the shocker, but also a testament to how serious of a threat Sukuna is, and always was. Even the process of them going to fight Sukuna was a big deal, with plan on top of plan being discussed over and over.
Yeah, there was like so many other plans being put in place in case that first plan didn't work. It's like, right, but then this guy could then jump in and do this, but what about this technique? We'll have this going on in the background. Like, wow!
It was to such a degree that they were even preparing for the prospect of Gojo dying, and then who would go next. Gojo was the strongest, quotation marks, as stated countless times in the story, but they're planning on what might happen if he dies. The stakes before the fight took place were absolutely insane. Before I get deep into this video, I want to ask you all to kindly sit through until the very end. I have a lot to say in this video, some good, some bad. This latest chapter was pretty wild, and has a lot of ramifications for the future of Jujutsu Kaisen. Considering it was also only 7 pages long, and we're heading into a 2-week break, I hope Gege is doing okay.
I've heard he's not well. He needs to take a break, man.
Because Yuta most definitely isn't. In all seriousness though, please keep Gege Akutami in your thoughts and prayers, because this guy has been working his ass off for the past 2 years, and genuinely deserves a big break. I'm pretty grateful that I got to read Gojo vs Sukuna weekly. The aura, excitement, and general hype that surrounded that fight is something that I don't think we're going to see again in Shonen Jump magazine. I'd just like to see Jujutsu Kaisen end on a note that Gege Akutami is content with.
And happy with, yeah, definitely.
Forced conclusion. So, Jujutsu Kaisen...
Brilliant, sorry.
...is in a position where it can do something that hasn't been done very often throughout...
Let the villain win.
...Shonen Jump magazine. Have the villain win.
Yes.
This series has...
I would not mind at all.
...been one of the most not only unpredictable, but quick-to-kill character series that I've ever read and watched.
Yeah, that season 2 was just like, whoa.
If there were a series to follow in the footsteps of Death Note, where we had a main character that, spoiler alert by the way, spoilers, kind of achieved his philosophical goal but died a very miserable death, then I think it's incredibly possible we could see something of the same nature for the conclusion of this series. Not a miserable death necessarily, just that it might end in a way where there's neither a feel-good win or a feel-bad loss.
Imagine it just cut hundreds of years later and Sukuna is just no one to fight or kill. He did the whole fingers thing again and it's just not happening and the world's just there.
A melancholic loss where people like Maki are the last ones standing watching the empty battlefield. Potentially even a double death between Yuji and Sukuna, and everyone else is saved. Since the opening chapters, Yuji has displayed a very I'm about it attitude, and that has been consistent from then to now. He has stated that he would be willing to die for the cause, if need be, or eat absolutely anything to get Sukuna. Yuta has been of the same cloth, where he went so far that he was willing to use the body of his sensei and kill his sensei's best friend so that he wouldn't have to do it a second time.
Yeah.
He spoke of becoming the monster, so Gojo wouldn't have to carry that burden. I'm not the biggest Yuta fan in the world, but you have to give him respect for how consistent of a character he has been from start to finish, just like Yuji. Sukuna's role since his very inception...
That's what confuses me with the names. They're all so freaking similar sounding that I just get confused. But you guys, if you've been watching me for a while, you know I'm awful, so I try to describe the people by the abilities they use.
...has been a display as one of the most ruthless villains in anime.
Yeah.
Sure, you could say other villains have achieved more or did arguably worse, but it's the never-ending horrible individual that he is, which truly makes him the king of curses. It's at a stage with Sukuna for me that I don't want to see him sealed or taken out by a third party. He needs to be beaten to death and beaten badly in a satisfying manner. It feels like every single time that he is close to dying or in a checkmate position, he somehow scurries away like an unkillable cockroach. I'm sure if a nuclear bomb landed on that motherfucker's
That'd
head,
be some
he
way
would have a line where he states, my anti-nuclear bomb technique. I haven't used that since the Heian era. So far, just to name a few off the dome, he's killed Jogo, Ryu, Gojo, Higuruma, Kashimo, Choso,
Higuruma,
potentially Yuta right now with this latest chapter, and countless fucking others. We're talking thousands of casualties, tens of other characters I can't even remember, which might have been mentioned by name. Who knows how many people he's killed in the past when it comes to back in his prime. He's actually ruthless, and unlike Madara and Aizen, it doesn't feel like he gives a fuck about what he's been doing at all whatsoever. He just wants to have a good fight, which is crazy consistent for this character. One of my worries with the progression of this series is that there is a high probability that this, quote, merger is going to be a being with inspiration from Meruem from Hunter x Hunter, but most likely a continuation of Mahito. If this merger appears as a curse, it'll either be that, or a massive amalgamation curse that potentially ends all of Jujutsu society. If it's the Meruem example, it will likely be used to take out Sukuna, considering how weak he currently is compared to how he was shown off earlier in the story. Regardless of how well he may be doing, he is in fact very injured and fatigued, and with how inspired Gege Akutami, the author of Jujutsu Kaisen, is, particularly by the authors of Naruto and Bleach, who are both pretty notorious for their handlings of their, quote, final villains of each war arc, it's possible it could go that route. One of Gege Akutami's biggest inspirations alongside those two is the author of Hunter x Hunter, Togashi. Where is Meruem from? Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever seen Akira Toriyama cop the same flack for how he ended Dragon Ball Z that those two in particular did for how they handled the end of their series. I'm a pretty big fan of the Buu saga, but I do know it gets a lot of criticism. However, the ending of it in particular, that's usually not the biggest point of contention for most people. It ties up all the knots when it comes to narratives, it has great character progression, and then Goku ends the fight with the help of everybody. So it's kind of an okay ending. I personally like the arc once again, but you see what I mean? Not as controversial. Anyway, that merger theory is a massive fear of mine, and hopefully it's not the case. Sukuna has defeated essentially everyone that has tried to fight him one-on-one, and with him now dealing with Yuta so fast that it appears he has actually died, and this time it
insane.
could be permanently. The last remaining people that could fight him, at least from memory, are Todo, Maki, Miguel, a handful of others not powerful enough.
Yeah, because Miguel, just bounced in and then bounced straight out.
Battle him one-on-one, and Yuji, who is slowly awakening Sukuna's abilities every time he brawls with him. My hope is that Yuji gets the win over Sukuna, and in a dominant fashion. I feel it would be unsatisfying if at the very least we don't get a domain expansion from Yuji.
Oh, he needs to do something cool. He's been doing cool stuff, but yeah, that'd be so cool to see.
Before the manga ends. Considering how profitable Jujutsu Kaisen is, I'd prefer to see this revealed in the mainline manga or anime, not in side material or a part 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen made purely for money, let's be real.
Yeah, just finish it.
Akutami has actually expressed that he wants to wrap up Jujutsu Kaisen somewhat soon because he has other aspirations he wants to go towards,
Cool.
and considering that he's so sick he could only release a 7-page chapter, I think that it would be best if we keep this series clean.
It's cool though that they let him just do 7 pages as well. You got to look at it that way, but take a break. I mean, like I said, it's on a break anyway. A couple of weeks, whatever. And then, yeah.
And short. Yuji's domain expansion could and would likely be Benevolent Shrine or just a straight up second Malevolent Shrine, which would also be just as fire. This Yuta process, even with him passing, could still have Gojo return in a similar manner to how Toji did in the Shibuya arc, because the manga has a little too much symbolism around the idea of the real Gojo returning and has multiple ways.
I hope they don't. I mean, maybe. Toji. Right. When he came back. It is Toji, isn't it? And Maki's compared to. When he came back, that was freaking cool. Because it was just momentarily, a weird thing happened, brought him back. It seemed like it wasn't really him. Because he was kind of like that mindless, kind of like killing machine thing just going in. The way he took those weapons and sharpened them up and that. With just bounced into the domain expansion and that. But, dunno. Don't do it again with Gojo. I think just Gojo needs to go. Yeah.
Ways that it could make sense, whether or not that's good writing. The emphasis on the 5-minute timer and them not being sure if Yuta would survive probably indicates this possibility too. The original brain not being in the body is not actually a requirement for him to come back. Toji's brain was gone for like a good 10 years plus, I want to say, give or take. Sorry, my brain's not working right now myself, actually. Now, I don't want him to return and win. This is purely to throw out the idea of a future possibility. I'd be satisfied with him merely being there to assist Yuji, if it were to happen. By the way, had Yuta actually won against Sukuna, it would answer Geto's riddle the other way, so this is another example of Gege planting seeds of foreshadowing, then addressing it years later. His writing isn't perfect, but it sure is underrated when it comes to him bringing things full circle, especially in a subtle manner. Remember the conversations of how Yuta would never be the next Gojo? Well, Yuta can't even wield Gojo's body correctly, or fight Sukuna on the same level. So not only is this true physically, but also metaphorically. Narratively, and to solidify Yuji as the main character and to get away from the "is he the main character" allegations, means he does need to be the one to end things, at least in my opinion. It's funny too because look at the difference in reaction to Sukuna using domain amplification inside a domain compared to Yuta. It is very clear right now the difference in those two. Narratively speaking, Jujutsu Kaisen is essentially a big battle of ideals, very similar to what was said by Mahito back in Shibuya, but in this instance it's a matter of Gojo's ideals versus Sukuna's ideals. Gojo's ideals being create stronger allies so no one has to be alone like he was, versus Sukuna's might makes right, you should only live for yourself and disregard everything around you. Or alternatively, embracing humanity versus disregarding humanity. Yuta embracing Sukuna's ideals portrays what Gojo would have wanted, and it's very, very unlikely Yuta would have been able to beat Sukuna while trying to copy him bar for bar. Even if Yuta did beat Sukuna, Sukuna's ideals prevail in the end, because them using the strongest quotation marks to beat him just proves Sukuna's ideology correct. You can take it even further when relating to Gojo himself, because Gojo's powers make him quite literally unable to be able to embrace his ideology himself, and no matter what he did, he would basically be forced into embracing Sukuna's ideology. As an example, they couldn't just jump Sukuna from the start, because Gojo wouldn't be able to use any of his abilities without potentially causing collateral damage to his allies. And Gojo being forced to embrace Sukuna's ideology pretty much set it up from the start that he wouldn't be able to actually beat Sukuna himself. There are also things earlier in the story, like Kenjaku's line about how Yuta will never be the next Gojo, and Uro's line basically saying Yuta doesn't have what it takes to come even close to Sukuna's level. Along with that too, hey, maybe Kenjaku's master plan, and why he is willing to pass away without seeing the end, was to kill Sukuna, as he was so strong that even his fingers couldn't be destroyed. Gojo states it himself. That would be a wild Keikaku that even Aizen would be proud of. I've seen quite a lot of people, and this includes myself, that feels like Kenjaku's exit from the story was a bit lackluster. I feel like he had way more up his sleeve, and he fits more of a role of a calculated, artistic, technical villain.
It did seem a bit odd that he was just taken out that quick.
Aggressive fighting style, which is Sukuna. If it turns out this whole time his plan was to do all this pre-planning just to beat Sukuna, I can see something like that making sense, but so far, we're going to have to wait and see what the merger actually is, because that will indicate exactly what is the true culmination of Kenjaku's plans. It's also quite obvious that Yuta was not going to win, or hasn't won, or isn't going to win. Depends on the next chapter, really, because it just has the story go back to, once again, relying on Gojo in every facet, and a convoluted conclusion to a series that should end with Yuji getting the victory, and then coming full circle. This story is about Yuji, after all. Consider this. Yuji is only in recent chapters displaying his use of RCT, or capability, to wield Sukuna's techniques. Meanwhile, Sukuna is yet to showcase his entire arsenal, which I hope does actually get shown off. And it feels like he very likely has other weapons or curse techniques that he could employ in battle. I did feel like when it came to Madara, Yuha, and Aizen, they actually did succumb to the fate of not being able to showcase all of their arsenal too, so I don't want to see the same thing happen with Sukuna. I would like to see a much more drawn-out battle where he does show off everything, or maybe 99% of what he's got. You know, it would be satisfying to see it, because so far, every single element of his fights have been nothing but entertaining, and I don't think that anyone can really disagree with that. I know many people have a massive problem with this whole, random person pulls up, shows Sukuna a technique. He's like, oh, that's really cool anyway. Nice crayon drawing. I'll put it on the fridge. And then he just one-shots them. I get that repetitive cycle is annoying, but consider that if you're reading this and you're binging these chapters, they would absolutely fly by. And then when it comes to the anime, this is endless content for Studio Mappa to adapt into a fire-ass Season 4, Season 5 hypothetical. His run right now, Sukuna's that is on the same level as how Madara and Aizen were fucking with everybody and just beating person after person week to week. And I hope it continues that way, and I hope that even more...
Can't wait to see what anime is.
Sukuna is, to me...
Calling games next, though, don't forget. That's a freaking cool
Regardless, the main cast are not in a good position, and there's a high chance this manga could end on a wild note where the villain just straight up wins. I kind of like the idea of this series being short and extreme, and so far, it's been extremely unforgiving. Let me know how you guys feel about this below. I'll make sure to read all the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. It's pretty funny how people are still trying to say that the Jujutsu Kaisen verse are slow when not only did Gege Akatami retcon the Maki Mach 3 feat, but the anime has shown Toji reacting to lightning, and Todo can teleport 50 times in the span of 1 second. Also, where is Megami? What the f***? As some closing notes, Gojo's initial goal was to save Megami from Sukuna, and Yuji is determined to do that, even with the prospect of himself dying in the process. Will Sukuna wield Megami's domain, along with his other abilities? Or will Megami break out and use his completed domain on Sukuna, obviously with the help of Yuji, to defeat him? Many have thrown out the potential idea of a Jujutsu Kaisen Part 2 if Sukuna wins, where it would be set many years later, and a new cast of sorcerers must face him in a post-apocalyptic, wasteland-type setting. Maybe in the future, Gege retcons the idea of Japan being the only place with sorcerers, and we get some world building, like, say, European or Middle Eastern sorcerers
Miguel's
in Part 2. Who knows? As implied earlier, I definitely would prefer Jujutsu Kaisen to stay clean and simplified. Less is sometimes more. Megami actually dying, or not even waking up again, seems very within the nature of this series, so...
Have Sukuna win, and then completely satisfied with his victory, that he no longer needs to fight anymore, and then kills Megami, thus killing himself. Boom.
Don't be shocked if Sukuna is defeated, and nothing comes of it. I should also clarify that the merger killing Sukuna idea may also not even happen, and it ends up assisting Sukuna. However, my spidey senses say otherwise. Give me all of your thoughts below. I'll make sure to read every comment, and thank you all for watching.
Great video. Good discussion. Love it! Very cool. Very cool. Just let Sukuna win. Like I said, let Sukuna win. No one else left to fight him. He's done what he wants. Goes inside himself. Fucking murders Megami. And then just dies afterwards. Just being like, yeah. I did it. I beat everybody. I came back and I did it. And but, yeah, whatever. If not, time will tell. We shall see. Still enjoying it. Like, still fun. It's just like, yeah, they are doing the Madara thing. Where it's like, but he's got this now. But we've got this. But then he's got this now. But we got this. But then he's got this now. But, yeah. Anyway. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video and want to be able to watch patron-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, links and description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? You guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment below. Let me know that I should watch and discuss some future videos. And if you want to see my videos early, click that join button, become a member, and I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.